computer. Hello, I'm Richard Hewson of The Ripple Effect. I'm going to read this so that I don't mess up. Richard Hewson of The Ripple Effect. I'm here with the usual gang of spiritually inquisitive suspects, along with our guest for today, Yvonne Sneeden. Wave hi, Yvonne, so they know which one you are. There you go. Yvonne was born in Belgium. So her first language is French, but she currently speaks the language of the heart. And Yvonne, I certainly wish we had the 10 days or 3 hours or 40 days it takes to really unpack even any piece of your experience. But without that kind of time, I urge listeners to look up Yvonne Sneeden, NDE, on YouTube. She is absolutely delightful. You'll love her story. We're not going to have her repeat the story here. We're going to bring up bits and pieces of it and ask furthering questions of her. So the five of us are quite used to hearing Tom Sawyer's logical scientific mind explain what he encountered, but Yvonne's brilliantly moving attempts to convey the love she now knows is grippingly beautiful. It may give you chills. It has brought me to tears every time I've listened to it. I've listened to several different YouTubes of it, and it's just, man, fantastic. So we have some questions for you. Yvonne, say hello to the world first.
Well, hi everyone, and I'm so pleased to be here with every one of you that are listening, and also every one of you here on the Zoom that invited me. I'm really, really honored about that.
We're honored to have you as well. One of the things that happened in trying to set this up, I was on a phone conversation with Yvonne, and I made this joke to her. Now if you go and look at her YouTubes first before looking at this one, save this one till afterward, you'll understand the depth and the power of the experience she had with the Christ, that she was wrapped in and their hearts merged. It's moving, it's clear that it's truthful. She's not making this stuff up. So it brought to mind a question to me that I want to be there when Jehovah's Witnesses show up at her door asking her if she's heard the word of Christ. So I mentioned that to her, and she said she would love to, she would just invite them in and tell them the story. That got us going on to, how do you talk to people who've not had this kind of experience, who have a rigid mental picture of spirituality, that from a church or a religion or whatever, and have trouble getting out of that or seeing beyond it?
Oh yes. So as I said, as you know, I know you a little bit more, Richard. We met in person, but I was, before my near-death experience, I was myself a very, very dedicated, strong Christian, and in Europe, and I was even ministering on weekends, and so I had a solid background in that faith. And what I say to people, so I understand very well people that have one religion, one spiritual system, because I was in for many, many years. And before my near-death experience, and that's what I would say to people, because I know how they were before, you know, though everyone really wants to connect with God, wants to connect with Creator in their different ways. And once you have found your own faith systems or spiritual systems, you want to actually, it's a blanket of safety, because you know what you're doing, you know the dogma, you know the ritual, you know, you believe every single thing that's actually in your spiritual books. And you know that actually that for you, that is the honest truth, it is the truth. So it brings you on earth in a type of safety net. And you don't want to get out of it, because that's what brings your purpose and your security in life. and everything and everyone around you is in that same faith, that same spiritual concept. So you have that support system with you. And so for me, I had all that. I had my support system, my friends, my family, my faith family, and was very avid churchgoers. And when I had my near-death experience, and I went into the light and saw Christ and saw Jesus, he transcended everything that was faith. He transcended everything that was a structured religion. He transcended that. He was just pure, unconditional, compassionate love for everyone and everything. And so when I came back, my box that was actually my safety net had actually been was actually crumbling. And it's very frightening for people to get out of the box that we create, because that's all our life, all our system, our lifestyle, our network. And when that crumbles, you find yourself that actually, because I realized that there was more to Christ, there was more to God, there was more to the spiritual world. And I still, of course, believe very strongly in Christ, because I've seen Christ, I've merged with Christ, so I know he exists. I mean, that's all, you only have my word for it, but I'm somebody who's always tried to live with the truth in life and genuinely. I don't want to play games in life. In general, I'm a very honest and genuine person. So you only have my word. But when you have merged with Christ's love and you've been in that world of life and of unconditional, compassionate, attentive love, you know there's more. There's more. I came back with so much more. And I understand people that actually have a hard time getting out because they haven't had an experience that enabled them to kind of understand more of what it is, so they want to stay in that box. And I just said, there's more. I always tell them there's more to the gift that you're looking for. There's more, and that you can actually reach if you want to. That's how I help. I share when I share my story to people, and I always try to get to where they are and reach them where they are, actually, and from there try to take them with me. I never impose my ID, because I think we're all free. We've all been sent to earth as free spirits to experience this life, and I think that freedom is to be respected. So that's how.
So
Yeah.
to have a rigid set is safety, which implies there's fear of not having that
Yes.
rigid set.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you've experienced beyond fear, a place of absolutely no fear.
No. Yeah. That's the thing, is that. When I came back from that experience, before I shared the other, my only fortune was that I had IONS. I live where the headquarters of IONS is. So I was very quickly connected to this community. I fortunately, because I was lost when I came back, because I didn't know where I belong anymore. And I had to reinvent myself. But yes, when I was in the light, I mean, it was just pure happiness. I mean, the highest level of the existence of happiness itself and joy itself. You are in that state. So in that state, of course, there's no fear, there's no anxiety, there's no doubt, no anything that's actually stressful or a negative emotion was non-existent where I was when I was inside the Creator's light. It was actually non-existent. I was just in a bliss, a perfect bliss, worry free.
So there was
no
devil there then.
No, there was no. Yeah. No, I only have seen light throughout my experience. It was just pure light. There's no, sometimes I feel like sometimes on earth we we focus too much on the negativity of life and of everything. Like when you say the devil, we focus on things that are darker, but there's so much light that we can focus on. And then, you know, when we focus on that negativity, we will end up being miserable, because the thought that we put in our heart are going to bring life, good or not good. So that's what I understood coming from that light. That's why I always try to, I'm not always perfect, but I always try to bring that out of me and to others as well.
You've
And I
answered
think
my
many experiencers do that too. Yeah.
You've answered my next question, which was, how do you bring that, now that you're here, how do you bring that forth in your life now? You know, you connected with INs and a community and whatnot, but the sense of how do you live your normal life? You know, you go to work and you go shopping and you have your friends and your daughter and whatnot. And what do you bring to that now that you did not have previously?
So previously I hadn't been to that world. So I was functioning, even though I was trying to be the best person, I was still functioning with my humanity, with the non-memory of that other world. When I was in that world, and I had two near-death experience, but this one is the bigger one. So when I was in that world, every being was just so attentive to the other. The other was to be celebrated, not us. It's the opposite of Earth. Here, everybody's kind of even ourselves, even myself, we will all do that. We will self-exalt in a way in anything we do, because our ego is predominant here, which is needed to grow and not make the mistake, help us go through our lessons. And so when I was in that world, it was just a world of pure kindness, love, and the other person was just a highlight. And so when I realized that's the real me, because they were all like that with each other. Every beings were like that with each other. It was just serving one another, helping one another, and then being excited for the other and wanting the other to succeed in anything they were doing. And so when I came back to Earth, I said, I don't want to play the game anymore to pretend to be Yvonne from Earth, you know. I want to be me. I want to be the real me, because now I remember. And so I'm trying, and we all are, you know, I have days I'm not great, but I'm trying every day and every moment of my day, when I interact with people, when I interact with my daughter or at work, to be always that person that actually celebrate the other, just be there for the other, just the selfless, maybe more than before. I had my own agenda, and I was using other people to accomplish my own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And in the other world, it's the opposite. Everybody is actually together accomplishing that one soul's agenda. And, you know, if we could do that on Earth, wouldn't it be wonderful? If everybody was actually ganging together to accomplish somebody's purpose, the world would be full of successful people. We would be so happy here. But it's the opposite here. Everyone is there for themselves most of the time. And I was like the same person, and I'm still like that because I'm in this body. But I try to make a difference everywhere I go. In the store, I just smile, I talk to the people. At work, I'm really, really fortunate to have a job in the IT world and in support, which means that I can stay who I am because you're supporting others, you're helping the customers I'm working on a large platforms with engineers. So you're actually helping them again to solve their problems. So it fits my personality of the afterlife person. So that's how I always interact. My former managers and that's how, because then they tell you, oh, you're always happy, you're always joyful. And then you can share. You can start sharing. Well, you know, life may be bigger than what we see, and they're so much better. So that's, I hope I answered what you were asking.
That is absolutely lovely. That when there is an opening in them, when they see enough to ask, how are you, how are you being who you are? That's the opening they need, that you can start telling your story a little bit more then. Is that what you just said?
Exactly. Yeah. That's, yeah.
And you said something that caught my ear in there, that here on earth, the ego is to help us through our problems. Did I get that right? Some sense of what the ego provides for us here, not just is a something to wrestle with, but how does it provide for us? Is that what you were trying to say?
Yes, because when, it's almost like a tool. Of course, if you go to the extreme, it becomes detrimental, but that ego makes us make what we call on earth errors, because we just want to be the one. So we just, we go through it with our ego, and then we have those error, and I'm still saying error because I prefer lessons, but error, and through those error we grow. We say, okay, that was not fantastic, maybe next time I learned that lesson. I'm not gonna, because that ego help us learn to grow. It's that tool that makes us make mistakes and then grow. And if we understand the lesson and we want to learn the lesson and grow through it. But of course, when you have forgotten who you are, because we, as you know, we existed before we came to Earth,
yeah,
and we chose this life here to come to Earth. And so when we have forgotten that, we actually, that ego take all the space, and then it becomes, detrimental to our own growth.
You had mentioned in the talk that I heard about teaching people on the other side,
Yeah.
lessons that we are learning. Is that connected with that?
Yes, actually, I had another NDE, which is not the big one. It's not online. Before, like 2 or 3 weeks before this one, and I went to a world where everybody was waiting for me, and they were so excited to see me back. They say, she's back, she's back. And I remember sharing with them everything I had learned on Earth. My 2 sisters both of them had a near-death experience. I mean, it's unheard of, but both of them had, one of them when she gave birth, and the other one through she had something under her heart. And that one, the one who had something under her heart, she actually, I say something because I don't remember the name in English, sorry about that, a tumor under her heart. And so she arrived, she was taken through this universe, just like me, but so she arrived through in a place where children were waiting for her. And they took her hand and took her in a school of spirit, of young spirits. They took her in a class, and they were all there. And when she entered the class, she remembered that actually she was their teacher. And she had gone to Earth to learn more, and then she was bringing that back to them to teach them. And the class there were class, of course, not like we have on Earth, but class about universe, about emotions, about how we overcome all kind of very intricate emotions and everything. It's another type of class, but she was conscious that it was her class, and maybe she was gone for a week, but for us here, it looks like a lifetime. So yes, that's what she told me, and I had that sense in my first NDE when all my soul group was waiting for me, and they were catching up and asking me all kind of questions. Yeah.
Excuse me, I tear up a little bit when you said that. You get me. Tom, one of Tom's questions is, do you have a better word for God that is more inclusive and acceptable, that doesn't have all the baggage that the word God can carry in some people's minds? Like, There's creator, holy father, mother, divine being, source, that kind of thing.
I get that completely. For me, when I say God, of course, with my own past experience, it's a very positive experience because I've had lots of good things happen to me when, so for me, God, but I totally understand. So I think that the best word that to me would be very neutral is to say the light, the creative light, the creator light, the light creator. The light, because God is light. I was in the light anyway. So that would be a very neutral word to say, or creator. When I saw, I know that in that world we are both, when I saw Christ in the light, when he came to me, when I was in God's light, Christ came to me. And Christ was actually male and female in one unit. So I don't think, I do believe that the creator or light has all the both in it, in one. And that on earth we are kind of separated because we want to experience two different types of love. The female love and the masculine, the male love can be sometimes different and different to understand each other. But that's the beauty, maybe, because maybe that separation was meant for us to try to reconnect together and learn from each other, from the different aspect of love, instead of competing. We all compete and we don't understand each other, and the men are so different and women are so. But actually, maybe that's an opportunity for us to understand the two different type of love. That I felt it's one when I was in the light.
Yeah, the term Father, Mother, God is accurate. That we are separated, but spirituality, God is not. We've been separated for some reason we're yet to fully grasp.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Also, it sounds like creator is somebody else who created us.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But the light, when you think of the light, or the great one, or the light, we are made of light too.
Right.
Everyone is made of light. So we all were generated from the light. So we were kind of the light before, and then we were created from the light. So we are not like created from a separate entity and suddenly, oh, here you are.
We co-created that.
Yeah. So we are light too. So it's like a unity feeling to me, actually.
Yeah.
Saying that, that's for everyone.
Very, very nice.
Good. Do you have any suggestions for those of us who have not had your experience? What might we do to lend ourselves toward that, or make ourselves more available or open to, without having a near death, but in life, be more available to, or move toward, or I don't even have the right wording for it.
Okay.
Something that would be advice for us.
The first thing, I would say, and I know, I'm speaking probably to the choir here, but the first thing is to take some time to yourself every day. Maybe even if it's 15 or 30 minutes to regroup with yourself, and then just start to say, well, I want to reconnect with creator or light or God or father, mother, father. I want to, and then start that process and have silence around you, because when you have silence, you can actually make a bigger introspection of that, of who you are, and then think of, that moment of meditation or prayer. I think it's like the lung of our spiritual being. Without it, because we're so busy, it's hard for some, if you never had an NDE, or even if you had, it's a wonderful way to connect with back home. And at the beginning, it doesn't seem like we can do it. We just stay around. But the more you do it, it's just like people that go to the gym. The more they do their muscle, the more they have muscles. And it's the same thing in the spiritual world. The more we meditate, the more we pray, the more we spend time, put some music that are actually encouraging you to step into that world, and then just connect, try to connect and ask, ask to connect, I know that when we ask to connect, they respond, because it's a world that's very respectful. They will not invade us if we're not comfortable. But when we ask, they come and they come back. And so that's my first thing. And the second, how to connect with love is to try to detach from ourselves and try to reach the other and help anyone every day. Make a promise to yourself that if I go out, I want to make a difference in somebody else's life today, even at a small level. Because when you give, you have that energy of love that actually is generated, and it's like it's now, it's like the flame that's actually being, I don't know the word in English, but being amplified. And the more you give, the more you receive as well. So if you just a word or some kindness or showing somebody that they're important, giving some money at the guy or the woman at the red light that's begging. People tell me all the time, oh, we don't have to give them money because they should be working. And I always say to those people, what are you talking about? They are working. They decided that their job was going to spend 8 hours in the heavy heat or under the rain, on the cold, to wait for people to give them money. That's their choice. They chose that. Your freedom is to give the money or not. That's your freedom, but that's their job, like you chose yours. And so just a little thing they had give, so have some money and give $5 or so that just, it's nothing for us, but it's so much for them. Just always put yourself into the other person's mind. What can I do? Just like those beings did for me when I was on the other side. They were serving me like I was a very important celebrity. They were just around me and just, I tried to, they were asking me, what can we do to help you? What do you want? What would make you happy? They were just so eager to serve and to help me, to make me feel happy. And that's how they are with each other. And so I try to bring that a little bit back here. And the more you give, the more you receive. We all feel good when we've done something great and we come home, and we can experience that every day if we go out. I take the Uber sometimes purposely because I know that sometimes people with Uber, they need, in this area, I don't know wherever you live, but in this area, sometimes it's people, immigrants, and they have a story to tell. So the other day, I had somebody from Somalia, and he explained his 8 years of ordeal before he finally was able to come to the US. But they have a story, and he was so happy that I was listening and asking questions to people. We all talk so much and we don't ask questions to the other, and that's so important to make somebody feel visible.
I love it. I love it. I'm wrapped up in this, I'm forgetting to look at the next questions. So, well, that feeds into what's your view of the world today? Yeah. How the world is currently, well, how the people are currently treating themselves. I'll leave it at that and let you take it. How do you see people today globally?
Well, we are all in a very difficult time with everything that happened this last year and a half with the pandemic, but also with everything that's happening in the world. As we know, 99.999% of beings that are on Earth have forgotten who they really are. Yeah. And I always, my heart breaks when I see the misery and the hardship and the injustice that's happening. Every time somebody's hurt, it's actually not a good feeling. And I also think of those that are perpetrating that horror. And I remember that they were, prior to come to Earth, they were those beings, just like all of us, that said to create or to light, I want to go to earth and I want to give a gift of love to that world, to help the world, to help them get better. I want to be, and then they did that amazing sacrifice that to leave heaven and the light to come to earth and to be actually serving. And unfortunately, it's really tragic because unfortunately they forgot who they are. And then and in that forgetfulness, they just let the human instinct take the worst of them. And now they are those beings. And that's how I think not to have anger and hatred against people that are horrible and doing horrible things. I'm just always thinking, if you only knew who you were, you know, and that's so sad. And I also do think that in all the horror that's happening today with the pandemic and everything, I do think that many people have started to actually dig a little bit deeper inside their heart to see what's really important in this earth life. What is important was, you know, some things that were so important, we start to realize it's not that important anymore, you know, listening people dying or, you know, so it's always putting that perspective of what's important and what's not. But I do believe that many people are starting to open up to understanding that we need more love, we need more genuinity, we need more compassion, we need to be more together. So out of that horror, I see more and more, even on Facebook, friends that were never spiritual start to post spiritual things on their wall about love, about kindness, and it's changing. It's hard, it's slowly, but it's changing. We are changing. And I do think that people that are awakened, whether it is through NDE, spiritual awakening, or even, religion, but the ones that are actually honest with their own faith, because I was extremely honest with my own faith before my NDE, and I was already serving and helping others. So I know there are many beautiful people. I don't want to criticize the Christian church or another religion, because I've known amazing selfless people in those crowds as well. So I want to be positive and loving towards everyone. So everyone who tries to do something to love and to expand their love towards others, I think today we have a mission, a double mission to bring that even more to the helpless. And because there's a lot of dark energy, a lot of despair and discouragement and fear, and everybody's in fear. And maybe we can help alleviate that by saying, listen, this is only temporary. There's so much better waiting for you when that's done. Just be encouraged, be encouraged. Just lead your life the best you can from now on.
So it brings up a question about what you talked about, merging when you were in heaven, in this paradise scenario, about with respectfully asking, may we merge? And you
Yes.
join in and you live the other person's life, live what they lived and have what they had. So one, I would like you to say whatever comes to your mind about that, but also, as we've just touched upon, the things that were what's typically referred to as sad and bad. If you want to merge with someone and they have done something that comes under the heading of sad and bad, how is that seen or received at that time? Okay. Am I making sense?
Yes. When we are in that light or in that other world, the way we see how our life evolved on Earth is actually with a perspective as well. Even though you're merging and you're looking, you can see how that bad thing, how actually they could have they know that they could have done it differently to make it better. So you have that spiritual analytic way to say, oh, that would have been, but I understand. So you have all the explanation around it.
Mm.
You have the whole explanation around what led that person to be that being. And that's the lesson, actually. I have not experienced that. It's a bit difficult for me to answer that with precise, because I don't like to give information that I don't have, because the only time I had merged was just the pure bliss. So, but I would actually believe that there's anyway a perspective with the knowledge of the entire knowledge. When we remember that here, I think we have like 10% of our brain functioning.
Yeah.
And then imagine we're that 100% spiritual beings that understand all the intricate motivation of everything. And then we are watching that, or we are experiencing that life, but we are not experiencing it separately from who we are. We're still conscious of who we are as a being, as a spiritual being. To talk about the merging, it reminds me that when I had that only happen one time, but when we were at one of the islands in Florida, I met a young woman. I met a woman, and she and I connected, and so beautifully we stayed together until 2 a.m. And talked together, and we had a similar memory of our pre-life. We had, because I have a couple of pre-life memory, and so we were just so excited that we were exactly the same memory. And we looked at each other. And for the first time in my life, earthly life, I've never had that with anyone else. She and I, at that same time, we merged like we merge in heaven. And we were like, we were in each other. We were just one. And we were, oh my God. And then we demerged, and we looked at each other, and we said that it was like when we were home. So that's that. When you say merging, that reminds me of that experience, which was amazing. And we spent the evening helping. There were some the janitors were there, and we sat with a guy, and my friend we saw his mom, and it was just a beautiful night.
Oh.
You think looking each other in the eyes that way, it helped that, because people don't look at each other hardly anymore.
Yeah, that is true, and maybe not so much in the U.S. I'm from Europe, and I lived in France and in Belgium. So over there, you connect a lot with the eyes. And when I moved to the U.S. and I was connecting with the eyes, I could feel people discomfort.
Yeah.
And okay, I cannot do that. So you have to learn not to connect with the eyes anymore.
Yeah.
But so at first I was a bit clumsy because I was trying to look everywhere. But what you say is so important. Richard, you came to the Virginia Beach retreat, NDR, R&R. I'm one of the organizers with David Bennett and everything. And so Jane, there's one of we did actually one workshop. And what the workshop was to look at each other a long time in the eyes. And then one was staying, we were sitting, we were in groups, 2 people each. And then we were looking at each other in the eyes. One was sitting and the other one was going towards the wall. And then, but we never had to disconnect with that energy of the moment we had connected. So we stayed a long time. I think it was like 2 minutes. It's a long time, 2 minutes. Yes, we just had to look at each other. And I had a young man from West Virginia. It was his first time. And so he was an experiencer. So he and I had to look at each other. He was really young in his early 20s. And then we just looked at each other for the longest time. And and then I went to the wall thinking of him. And when I was on the wall, I said, I know him from life, from the other world. I know him. I was thinking that I know him. It's like we're family. I've known him from the other world. And then I come back and sit. And then he looks at me. And then we had to share what we had experienced. And he looked at me. And then I didn't say a word. And he said, and it was his first time ever in an NDE group. He had never heard of it. He just had an NDE. And then he looked at me and he said, I know you from the world before coming to Earth. He said, we were family. I know you from that moment. And then he said, and you know what? My mother here on Earth, her name is Yvonne. And so it was just the most beautiful experience. We cried. He was crying. He was a tough guy, and he was crying, and I was crying. We were holding each other hands, like, oh, family, family. You know, it was just a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for
Pure
that.
moment. It was pure. There was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a pure
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Oh, how is your health now? In your experience, you had completely used yourself up. Your battery was drained down to nothing. And in your connection to Christ, he refilled you spiritually, and he said, you said he refilled your body. You could feel your body being refilled as well. How is
Yeah.
that for you now? Where?
I want to say that after my NDE, I was totally healed. I didn't have the arrhythmia was gone because I was severe arrhythmia. I was taking the medication the cardiologist had given to me. So the arrhythmia was gone, and I never suffered arrhythmia again after that event. So
Wow.
yeah.
It's rare for
So,
arrhythmia to just clean up like that. It's beautiful.
yes, yes, yes. And that was in 2008, so it was quite a while, but that left, yeah. It was, I mean, he was actually, when Christ regenerating my whole being, it was, as I said, he regenerated my bones, and he was just standing in the void, and he was bright there, so huge. And when he filled me with that, it was like that sparkling, liquid, dry, goldish white, sparkling energy that came all over in every cell, every bones, every proton, everything of my being, my every nerves, every muscles was renewed from that light. So I guess that healed my body too. You know what I mean? It is just so amazing. It was just an amazing experience. Oh, I miss. You miss home. I miss Christ. I miss that love, because it's really hard to find that selfless love. You know, in friendship, in relationship, it's hard on earth when you have experienced that unity. Because we all have our own little agenda and how we want things to happen. But when we let that go, and it's just beautiful. When you're in that other world, you don't have, everybody's one, and we just run into, we have no walls like we have to put here on earth to protect ourselves.
Yeah. I've heard that some experiencers will come back and have a form of depression from missing the other side. So, is that true? Has that been true for you?
Yeah, you know, it has been true that it was, no, I didn't have depression at that time. I had loneliness. Even though if you're with friends, you had that loneliness feeling because, but you know, I've done that documentary with Robert Neil Marshall called Back from the Light. And we interviewed a few people from that had an NDE, and that specifically also the after effects of the NDE. You know, everybody always we always talk about, oh, it's amazing, we went to that world and we saw so many things. But most of us have to deal after that to be on earth with that separation of that world that was so, it's like you were in, you know, you were living in the jungle with all kind of dangerous animals and in a swamp, but you don't realize that because you were born in the swamp. And then suddenly you have your NDE, and as I'm European, I'm going to say, and then you go to Switzerland, to the crisp Switzerland, you know, with those beautiful homes and pure air. And then suddenly you come back to the swamp, but now you know it's a swamp. you know, before you didn't knew that, you know, see what I mean? And so now you're thinking of that world. It's, oh my gosh, you know, there was so much love. And then but I mean, I'm not saying that Earth is a swamp. It's a beautiful gift. It's a gift to be able to feel, to smell, because we are a spiritual being over there. It's more like an etheric world. But here we can actually, you know, it's a gift to be on Earth, but it's more the darker energy, the negativity that we all, and the struggles. I mean, every single day, every one of us is in survival mode, right? We have to go to work, otherwise you don't get food. You have to have a house, otherwise you cannot sleep. So we are living in that survival mode without realizing, because it's been so long. While in the other world, you don't need all those things. You just are bliss all the time. So it's really hard for people. But when you have an NDE, it's harder, because now you have a point of comparison.
Yeah.
And now you think of that, you know, whenever you get, and then also it's almost like you get reformatted. You know, everything you were before, when you go into that world or into that light, or when you have the NDE, it's almost like you're so filled with that light, that purity of light, that kindness of light, that goodness of light, that you come back here and you've been reformatted, and you're like a little bit like a child in that kindness, in that trusting. You're very trusting, and then you trust people, you trust the best in people. Your heart want to love everyone at the same time, and so you get hurt quickly, because all the other people are not in the same mindset as you are. They try to see, what is there for me when I interact with that person? What can I get from that? What I gonna take from that?
Yeah.
And you're there, you just want to give, you just want to, no, that was me. And so you get hurt. And then you have to just learn to shrink back into the mode of the play you are playing here. And just be careful not to give too much of yourself to others too quickly. A lot of NDE experiencer, we say too much, we talk too much, we are open book, and then we think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that much, because those barriers, we don't have there's a freedom, there's no, because we've been reformatted. So
Oh,
that's some
yeah,
depression. Yeah.
I'm hopeful that that's the way that we will be living, rather than just living in this fear and the muddy, murky earth that that appears around us. I mean, more and more of light that can shine like you, to spark us to be more like that, to be more playful, to be more childlike. I mean, that's what Jesus was saying.
Yeah.
Be more like a child. Be a child. The children are the ones that get, the
Jesus,
first in line.
yeah. He can show us love, and how to love, how unconditional love is, the unconditional love. And that's why now I call myself a Christ follower more, because I follow his teachings.
Yeah.
The teaching of unconditional love. That's what I focus on more than anything else. Yeah.
You're doing that. It
I'm
shows.
trying.
You are definitely doing that.
It's a lonely road. It's a lonely road, because you get either taken advantage of, or
Well,
but
we surround you with our
because you're okay with it, because you're not taking advantage, but you read through people. You read. That's one thing after your NDE, or I mean, at least after mine, you can read. I can read people through a lot of times, like a scan, and you know the motivation behind that. Before I wouldn't see. So, but it's okay. You love them anyway, because you feel compassion. You say, oh, that's cute, you know.
Does that help you to, you're clearly not in that survival mode you talked about when before an NDE, people are born and forget where they came from and get into survival mode, but you're clearly not in that right now. And
no, I'm not.
You're clearly in assistance mode and giving, but with giving with some personal safety. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, yes. There was you're so right, because see, before my NDE, when I was that only in the church, and I had been in the ministry, so all my focus was to serve others. But then, even if they were hurting me too much, I would still be there helping and being there, and okay. And the difference after your NDE, I mean, for me, and I've talked to some of my friends, you don't want people to take advantage of you. You don't want that manipulation anymore, and you're teaching them actually that manipulation is not okay. And because you have that self, you know who you are, you know what love means, and you'd want to be in that love mode. And if somebody is hurting you, you just don't want that. You say, okay, that's not going to be for me. Whereas before I was taught, oh, you have to be the servant of others, you have to wash the feet of everyone. But this time you just say no, that's not going to happen. I say no to that. And saying no is an act of love. It's helping. Some people say, well, I don't want to hurt his feeling. And no, you're not hurting his feeling. If it's something that that person or her feeling is doing something detrimental towards you, you're teaching them to stop, and that's not okay, because they will learn that, oh, doing that is not okay in general, instead of just letting people walk all over you.
So you are showing self-love for yourself by putting up
Yeah,
that boundary, and you're
yeah,
showing them an authentic response to what they want out of you.
exactly.
Yeah, bless you for that. We're coming up on the 1 hour mark. I've kind of run out of questions here. I have one thing just jumped out at me: the empathy to absorb another's essence. That seems to be what a description of the merging. And as you're saying, you can scan someone, you can scan someone and get a gauge of their motivations, love them, and make choices based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What have I got left to do? How can we wrap this up? Anybody got suggestions?
Thankfulness. Very thankful.
Yeah.
It's been a very, very wonderful, um, joyful experience. It's the kind of thing where this is like being in the light. I feel
Yeah.
like we are in the light right now.
Yeah.
The six of us are
Agree.
in the light, on a little mini retreat. Uh, and unfortunately, I know Michael and I we were three of us, at least, were going to go to the conference at Virginia Beach. And it looks like that at least Michael and I may not be able to go, just because of circumstances and so forth. But I would love to continue. This is my family. And
This,
that's when we came together as, forming the ripple effect here. That was our intention, really, was coming together with our family,
yes.
to be in this environment together, whether it's recorded or sent out to anybody else, wasn't the motivation. It's just for us to connect. And I'm going to miss, if I don't get to go to Virginia Beach, I'm going to really miss that. And so I don't want to miss that. I want to be there. So if there's any way I can teleport myself there, I will be there, with you all. And I would love to continue, that childlike, essence. I mean, I work with children at Christmas, with the Santa Claus thing that I do. And that's the thing that touches me the most, is being with the children and seeing the innocence of that. And it's just so, that enlivens me. And it's really for me that I'm with them more than me being for them. It's that they're giving me so much. So you've given us a lot tonight, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much. That really touched my heart when you say that, because that's the purpose of me sharing. So thank you for that gift.
You've given us a great gift. I can't think of a better wrap up than that. Bless you. We'll probably ask you back again sometime, and I don't know how we're going to get to that R&R, but we'll do our best for it. I'm going to stop the recording now. Are we all set?